your blood. This is the extraordinary you that you were born to be for this time, for this place, for this moment. Feel that. The struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief, it is still you. You are still whole, complete, beautiful, and extraordinary. For the next 3 minutes, feel that.
I sing the body electric. I celebrate the me yet to come. I toast to my own reunion when I become one with the sun. And I look back on Venus, I look back on Mars, and I'll burn with the fire of 10 million stars. And in time, we will all be stars. I sing the body electric. I glory in the glow of rebirth, creating my own tomorrow when I shall embody the earth. And I'll serenade Venus, I'll serenade Mars, and I'll burn with the fire of 10 million stars. And in time, we will all be stars. We are the emperors now, and we are the czars. And in time, we will all be stars.
Oh, friends, what a beautiful song to start this sermon off with. What a blessing and a gift. Before I formally begin, I just want to announce I learned yesterday that the book that we read today, Fry Bread, is actually on the banned list in Florida, um, which I find to be quite interesting since it is truly just the sweetest book about people being people and being family and community. So I hope you took that message away as well. Before I begin my sermon, I want to call on my comrades, elders, and ancestors. I want to call them into this space, making it holy and making it a temporary home. I want to offer an orientation to today's message. I wrote this at a unique intersection in my life. There are streams of thought that are poetic and melodic, and there are streams that speak to a seminarian trying to bridge personal reflection and spiritual practice and the art of sermonating. And today you will hear all of those things. But we will end today's message by weaving all of those knowings together. Let the journey begin. I am standing on the banks of a small tributary stream at the local botanical garden. From here, I survey the water's edge, noticing all of the new green on the low-hanging bushes. New trees that have fallen over winter are strewn across the banks like abandoned toys in a children's room, and there is a calm here. And then in the softness that only comes on one frequency, I hear my small, still voice. Let's hold that moment together. It's not going anywhere. Also, I think you and the moment are worthy of some context setting. So come with me as we take a practical detour. To start, we need to go back to August of 2022, when I began my role as an intern minister working with 3 congregations in Southern Oregon. I initially met with my intern committee and then with each community to understand their Sunday worship needs. After much conversation, we agreed I would preach 3 times a month, and I started generating topics and thinking about my own spiritual life practices. As a minister in training, I often think, what makes me spiritual? What actions and practices ground my faith? And ritual is high on that list. And it seemed a great topic for a sermon. I started researching and I looked at books and websites. I got out my journals and I wrote. I did art with friends. It was not long before all of my thoughts were consumed with ritual. I did what I know works best. I stopped. I paused and I took a deep breath. What felt small and manageable at the start started to feel like a heavy burden, and I was struggling, having a hard time translating my thoughts into a sermon. And although I love prose writing, I also know the benefit of applying a more scientific approach to writing. So I got out my academic keyboard. First, I wanted to make sure that the definition of ritual was fresh in my mind. Webster offered this: a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. And although it was accurate, this stale definition lacked some of the nuance that I know to be ritual. Here, I want to offer an alternative definition that is more expansive and able to address the lived experience of ritual. For me, ritual is the manner in which an action is carried out with the intention to create, support, nurture, or otherwise assist in understanding of self, the interconnected web, and to facilitate meaning making. Given my definition, I began considering the role of rituals that are rote. I think there's a thin line between habit and ritual, and I think that we mix the two. I find daily tasks such as brushing my teeth or making coffee to be rote or ritual. Rote rituals allow one part of my brain to be in low engagement while the other parts are in high engagement. At times, I find a lot of comfort in rote behaviors. However, from a practical perspective, it would be dangerous to be in constant autopilot state. We have to ground. We have to physically touch other people and be active participants in our own survival. My limited and very unscientific research also observed that ritual as rote doesn't shift or change my relationship with my small, still voice. If anything, it creates more space in my life to be present to my small, still voice. Next, I started to think about activities that I do that hold the space between rote ritual and deep meaning ritual activities. And I call these micro rituals. I was thinking about activities like swimming and running and fiber arts. And it was not long till I was consumed with the thoughts of micro rituals. But I did what I know how to do best. I stopped, paused, and took a deep breath. This sermon is not the space to unpack micro rituals. It's a huge middle swath of territory that could consume the rest of our time together. And I want to get back to the garden part of the story. So for now, we are placing a pin in future sermons and times I can spend with you around micro rituals that matter. This means that we get to arrive that much sooner at deep spiritual meaning making our macro rituals. These are behaviors that create direct and not passive conversations with my still small voice. There are times when I need to recenter my energy. Those are times when the micro rituals can be useful, a way to adjust on the fly and keep it moving. Other times, what is needed is more of an aggressive dialogue between myself and my small, still voice. What I need, when I need that level of connection, I open the door to spirit with activities like singing and reading sacred texts, praying and meditating, crying, laughing, dancing, breathing. My faith is lived and embodied. I call on the goddess with every part of me. This is the polar opposite of rote or habit. This is a deep, tender, magical space. At times, the connection between myself and my small, still voice feels strange. And in those tenuous times, I seek a radical change in how I am moving with my God self. I go to her altar, humble and teachable. I am open to all the lessons and grace she has to offer. And in this way, ritual becomes a tool for spiritual repair. Having gone through an examination of personal ritual, I shifted my attention to communal rituals, whether that be civic or faith-based. I am a minister after all. Be still my academic heart, because here too we need a definition. Based on the definition of ritual that I offered earlier, here's an adaptation on the meaning of communal ritual. Communal ritual, the manner in which a group's actions are carried out with the intention to create, nurture, support, and otherwise assist in our understanding of self in the context of that group, understanding the interconnected web that is the group, and facilitating a collective meaning making. Now, even I had questions. Okay, QuianaDenae, but what does all of this mean in our lived daily lives? Friends, in terms of civic responsibilities, my understanding of Unitarian Universalist values, principle, and covenant compels me to work toward collective liberation. For me, that means I engage in civic tasks that support a healthy community and governance process. I vote, I pay taxes, I drive safe enough, I adhere to all the things that have happened around COVID, vaccinations and masking and boosting. Our society is a multi-layered, intricate system which requires at least passive participation. We are impacted by and we impact those systems. Make no mistake, we are not singular as it pertains to politics, faith, government. Family rights are individual rights. My queer siblings are not singular. My indigenous siblings are not singular. My siblings seeking to access reproductive care are not singular. My Black kinfolks who simply want to exist are not singular. Saint Audre Lorde reminds us there is no such thing as a single issue struggle because we do not live single issue lives. And we cannot extract collective liberation when we are focused on the singular. We have to see the expansiveness, first of self, then of others, and apply it to the whole. There is always room for helping hearts, helping hands, hearts, and heads at the collective table of liberation, because none of us are free until we are all free. Okay, QuianaDenae, you're really hype, but how does this definition live in our faith communities? For many, communal worship, a celebration of life, a mosque, temple, or church is a spiritual home base. It is the place where folks allow themselves to be spiritually vulnerable. Being a member of a faith community serves to tie a knot on the end of the interconnected web and gives us a place to hold on in the times of spiritual need. We come into these rooms to celebrate the joys of life. In this sacred space, we hold each other during births and graduations, weddings, adoptions, coming out, new jobs, the loss of jobs, home ownership, divorce, war, and death. And at any given time, we as a humanity and as individuals are holding so much unspoken tenderness in our hearts. So we come here to surrender the heaviness. We come into these rooms to engage in a process of personal fire tending and liberatory fire sharing. Lastly, as a minister in training, I would be remiss not to address the UU specific rituals. UU's theological base doesn't mandate holy days. However, we have created some binding rituals unique to the UU liturgical experience. Weekly, most of us gather in UU spaces, and we are likely to experience the lighting of the chalice and the reading of a covenant. Seasonally, we use water communion in the fall and flower communion in the late spring as bookends for the opening and closing of our 9-month worship cycle. Other dates of importance in many UU communities include celebrations of Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and seasonal equinoxes. We are also mindful of cultural and spiritual events such as Kwanzaa, Juneteenth, Asian, Pacific, and American Heritage Month, Indigenous Land Acknowledgements, Queer Pride, and Trans Day of Visibility. Still tapping away at our scientific academic keyboard, let's bring together what we know. Ritual can be defined as the manner in which an action is carried out with the intention to create, nurture, support, and otherwise assist in our understanding of self, the interconnected web, and to facilitate meaning making. Rituals can be rote, like brushing your teeth, or micro, like nature walks or knitting, or macro, that includes activities like prayer or dancing. We've explored communal rituals, both civic, like voting and paying taxes or being on a jury, and we've explored communal rituals in the context of a faith community. And the UU worship, that can be lighting a chalice or saying a covenant or giving during the annual stewardship drive. We have a variety of ways and levels at which to be in conversation with our good self and our small, still voice. We need community. It helps shape and inform who we are and how we relate with the larger culture. We need faith homes that nurture us into our best selves. So, taking a sip of my rope-made coffee, what does all of this mean? And I think this is the time that we head back to the creek. And here we change over from our change into our prose keyboard, and we invite less fact and more whimsy. To recall, we are standing on the banks of a small stream at a local botanical garden. I wasn't there by chance. Nature walks are one of my micro rituals that I use to stay in context with my God self. I arrive on the banks of the stream, tired and overwhelmed with the task of synthesizing what I know of ritual into a sermon that prepared the community for the week ahead. And then I hear the softness that only comes in one frequency, my small, still voice. The goddess has set a simple table with a sensory meal. I hear. My hearing felt sharp. The air in my lungs felt crisp. My vision was clear. My awareness focused and relaxed all at once. I did what I know to do best. I stopped. I paused and I took a deep breath. And several truths hit me all at once. And here lies the lessons I want to share with you today. 1, in the babble and gurgles of the river, I heard a dialogue between the river and the rock, a chat wherein they openly expressed admiration and appreciation for each other. They were not in competition, nor were they fighting for power. This was not performative allyship. The rock and the river, they were moving in a way that affirmed their individual and collective thriving, a mutual beneficial dynamic focused on getting the most needs met. The river helps form and shape the rock, while the rock helps guide the water on its way. I need ritual to form and shape me, and ritual helps guide me on my way. Ritual is a liminal space where we are both boundaried and adaptable. For example, the rock does not change its material composition, it's boundary. It also accepts that over time, it will be changed by virtue of being in relationship with the water. It is adaptable. I am a Black girl. I cannot change my material composition. I am boundaried and I am magic. Over time, I will change the world by virtue of the spells I cast, the community I keep, and the rituals I host, adaptable. Our faith is lived and embodied. This requires that we have an active and engaged way to talk to our God self, our good self, and our small, still voice. An active way to engage our best collective body, our beloved community. I'm almost done, friends. Follow me around the river bend. Many of us, myself included, are painfully passive in spiritual rituals. I know I arrive on Sunday morning seeking to have a transformational spiritual experience by simply being in the room, as if proximity is the binding agent of faith, and we know that it's not. For me, some of the strongest binding agents of faith are intention, action, and grace. Friends, this is what I know to be true. Ritual is the space where I can say, humanity, I am lost, bring me home. and humanity can say, dear heart, I miss you. Please come home. In the listening at the creek, I was told, breathing is the first ceremony and first ritual. We have all participated. It is how we loudly announce, I am here. I am a part of the light. Many of us have witnessed it happen for the first time, watch someone take their first breath. Many of us have bore the weight of hearing it for the last time. We have bore the weight of watching someone's spirit leave this earth. This is how we come to know that breathing lives on a continuum. Rise, rising, Rosen, risen, rose. It is the first gift we are given. It is the first gift we give. This is how we come to know that grace too lives on a continuum. Grace, graceful, grace-filled, grace. Everything lives in a continuum of breath, lives in a continuum of grace. This is ritual. Friends, as you prepare for the week ahead, I hope you find a way to engage in rituals that affirm you, that you find ways to be in loving conversation with yourself, your small, still voice, and your fellow congregants and ministerial leadership. May you continue to be held in sacred spaces on the continuum of grace and breath. Ashe and amen. Ashe and amen.
And now let us sing. That's the name of our hymn, Now Let Us Sing. Number 368 in your gray hymnal. As you're getting there, I will play it through. And notice that there are 4 verses. And each verse, it just changes one word. And if you would like to stand up, you can. Now let us sing. Now the power of the faith within. Sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now notice that there are 2 parts. The lower part does the lower line. So if you're game for that, please do. Now we have hope. Sing to the hope of the faith within. Sing to the hope of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the hope of the faith within. Sing to the love of the faith within. Sing to the love of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the hope of the faith within. Sing to the joy of the faith within. Sing to the joy of the faith within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the joy of the faith within.
Friends, thank you for this time to be together. Before I give us our closing words, I do want to acknowledge the technological support and the community support that was offered in my time with you today. I truly appreciate it. It has been a wonderful journey. I want to offer these words, May You Be Changed, by Miss Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made to yourself about who you want to be feel closer to the reality of who you are now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until you are changed and transformed and transforming together, becoming our best, better selves.
And if you'd like to take your teal hymnal and join me in our closing song, it's called Go Lift It Up, number 1057. And I'll play it through once, and then we'll sing it twice.
We hope that you found meaning in today's service. We close with these words from Krista Taves. It is our work, shared with each other in covenant, that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us, together in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Amen, and blessed be.